The crystalline structures of the Mizrahi excavation dome shimmered under the alien sun of Proxima Centauri B head archaeologists. Zivra moved her four-fingered hands delicately across the ancient stone wall, her luminescent eyes widening as the translation program deciphered another section of precursor text. "High Counselor, you need to see this immediately," she said, her voice carrying a tremor unusual for her species. High Counselor Velthun approached with the measured grace of one accustomed to wielding power across hundreds of star systems. The Mizrahi Collective had encountered many dead civilizations during their expansion, but the precursors remained the most enigmatic, an empire that had spanned the galaxy before mysteriously vanishing 50,000 years ago. "Another warning?" Velthun asked, multifaceted eyes reflecting the holographic translations hovering in the air. "Yes, but this one is different, more specific." Zivra gestured toward the wall. "They describe a species from a yellow star system, third planet. The biological and geological markers match what our scout ships found in the system we just cataloged. The one we call Section 47C. You mean the planet with the developing bipedal species? The one still burning hydrocarbons?" Velthun's secondary breathing membranes fluttered in what passed for amusement among the Mizrahi. "The same. The precursors call them humans, and they devoted an entire chamber to warnings about them." Zivra expanded the holographic display, showing chamber after chamber of intricate glyphs. "This exceeds any documentation about other species by a factor of 7. Velthun studied the translations with growing impatience. Adaptable, unpredictable, quick to learn from adversity. These are generic descriptors that could apply to many species. But this is unprecedented, High Counselor. The precursors specifically state that these humans possess something called the spark, a capacity that could ignite the galaxy or burn it to ash. The High Counselor's irritation manifested as a slight discoloration along the ceremonial ridges of his neck. The precursors were technologically advanced, but they were also superstitious. Their empire fell while ours continues to thrive precisely because we base our decisions on empirical data, not mystical warnings. Zivra hesitated. There's more. The final warning states, they adapt, they overcome, they never stop. Enough. Velthun turned away from the display. Our preliminary scans show a fractured global society still fighting over resources, divided by primitive territorial concepts. They've barely left their own atmosphere in a sustainable way. But the assessment will proceed as planned. Admiral Krenfar will make first contact and begin standard assimilation protocols. The High Counselor's voice left no room for further discussion. The collective has incorporated 73 species into our hierarchy. What possible challenge could a single planet of primitives present? As Velthun departed, Zivra turned back to the ancient wall, running her fingers over the final glyph. A simple depiction of a spiral galaxy, with a small flame at its center, spreading outward. The Universal Translation Program offered multiple interpretations for this symbol: renewal, danger, transformation, catalyst. Aboard the collective flagship Inevitable Progress, Admiral Krenfar received his orders and set course for the unremarkable yellow star system. The massive ship slipped into dimensional space, leaving behind the dust-covered warnings of those who had encountered humanity before. Sometimes, even the most advanced civilizations fail to understand that the most dangerous predators rarely look threatening until it's too late. The Mizrahi diplomatic vessel Eternal Harmony emerged from dimensional space at the edge of Earth's solar system, its quantum sensors immediately cataloging every asteroid, spacecraft, and communication signal. Ambassador Kilthera stood on the observation deck, watching as the blue-green world grew larger on the main display. Primitive, but not without a certain aesthetic appeal, she remarked to her cultural integration specialist, "Mester, what is your assessment based on their broadcast transmissions?" Mester's data interface implants flickered as he processed the information. Fragmented social structures, multiple governance systems, approximately 200 territorial divisions they call nations. Technological development is uneven but accelerating rapidly. Any unified defense capability. Nothing that could challenge even our diplomatic escorts. Their most advanced weapons rely on chemical propellants and crude atomic fission. Kilthera nodded, the translucent membranes on her elongated head catching the light. Standard approach, then. Initiate contact through their largest governing body. Display Package 3. Impressive but not overwhelming. The Eternal Harmony descended toward Earth with calculated pageantry, its hull illuminated with pulsing lights designed to awe primitive species. Earth's response was predictable at first. Panic, emergency broadcasts, military aircraft scrambling. Then something unexpected happened. "They're hailing us," Mestor said, surprise evident in his voice. A unified transmission from something called the United Nations Security Council. "Put it through," Kilthera ordered, assuming her most diplomatic posture. The face that appeared on screen was dark-skinned, female, with close-cropped hair and eyes that held neither terror nor awe, only measured calculation. "This is Secretary General Okafor, representing the United Nations of Earth. We welcome peaceful contact. Please identify yourselves and your intentions." Kilthera delivered her standard greeting, explaining the Mizari Collective's benevolent mission to unite advanced species. The humans' response was not the expected gratitude. "We look forward to cultural exchange as equals," Okafor said firmly. "Our representatives can meet you at our headquarters in Geneva." As equals, the presumption would have been amusing if it weren't so misguided. 3 days later, as Kilthera prepared to board the shuttle for Earth's surface, klaxons blared throughout the ship. "Massive solar flare," the ship's navigator reported. "Our dimensional shields are failing. Propulsion systems compromised." Kilthera felt a flicker of concern. The Collective's technology was designed to withstand such stellar events. Engage secondary systems. Secondary systems failing. The flare's radiation signature is unusual. Something about this star's emissions is interfering with our quantum matrices. This was impossible. The Collective had mapped thousands of star systems. A common yellow star should present no unique challenges. The humans hailed them again. This time, it was a different face. An Asian woman with practical eyes and hair pulled back tightly. "Ambassador, this is Chief Engineer Amara Chen of the International Space Agency. Your ship appears to be experiencing difficulties. We're prepared to offer assistance." Kilthera's pride warred with practicality. "Our systems are beyond your technological understanding." Chen smiled slightly. "Perhaps, but we know our sun better than you do. Your shields are calibrated for standard stellar emissions, but Sol has certain harmonic frequencies that require specialized shielding. We've developed workarounds." 2 hours later, Chen led a team of human engineers aboard the Eternal Harmony. Kilthera watched with poorly disguised shock as they bypassed damaged quantum circuits with technology the Collective had abandoned centuries ago. "Sometimes the old ways work when the new ways fail," Chen said with a casual shrug as her team restored the ship's propulsion. "Your systems are elegant, but vulnerable to unexpected variations. Our tech is messy, but adaptable." That evening, Kilthera sent a private communication to the High Council, requesting additional cultural specialists. These humans were unsettling, not in their technology, but in their thinking. Across the stars, on the Collective's capital world, Dr. Neri received the ambassador's report with growing concern. The humans' response pattern matched the precursor warnings with disturbing precision. She turned back to her forbidden project, decrypting the final precursor archive chambers that the Council had ordered sealed. The text materialized before her. "They see paths invisible to others. They turn disadvantage to advantage. Where one solution fails, they find 10 more." Dr. Neri shivered, despite the climate-controlled laboratory. For the first time in her long career, she began to fear for the Collective's future. The Grand Assembly Hall of New Geneva gleamed with a combination of Earth's architectural heritage and subtle Mizari modifications. 6 months had passed since first contact, and the collective's presence had become a fixture in human society. Diplomatic exchanges, technological demonstrations, and cultural exhibitions had created an atmosphere of cautious optimism among Earth's population. Today, that would change. Ambassador Kilthera stood before the assembled representatives of Earth's nations, her iridescent diplomatic robes catching the light as holographic displays showcased the wonders humanity might access as a partner species in the collective. Medical technologies that extend lifespans by centuries, she said, gesturing to images of rejuvenation chambers. Clean energy that would end your climate concerns. Instantaneous transportation between continents. Agricultural systems that could eliminate hunger. Each statement brought appreciative murmurs from the audience. Secretary General Okafor watched with steady eyes. And the price for these benefits, Ambassador? The moment had arrived. Kilthera had overseen the integration of 7 species into the collective. This part of the process always followed the same pattern: shock, resistance, acceptance. The mathematics of power were irrefutable. The collective operates on principles of mutual contribution. Kilthera began smoothly. Earth would provide 40% of its material resources, administered by Mezeri oversight committees. Governance would transition to a collective-approved structure over a 20-year period. Human cultural practices would undergo phased integration to align with collective harmony protocols. The silence that followed surprised her. Previous species typically displayed immediate outrage or desperate pleas. Instead, the human representatives exchanged glances that Kilthera couldn't interpret. Finally, Secretary General Okafor spoke. Ambassador, these terms represent a fundamental surrender of human autonomy. We need to put this to a global vote. We request 30 days for worldwide consultation. Kilthera blinked her tertiary eyelids in confusion. A vote. Among your entire population. Such inefficiency. It's how we make decisions that affect everyone. Okafor replied simply. Democracy may seem chaotic to you, but it's the foundation of our civilization. The Mezari delegation withdrew to their orbital platform to discuss this unexpected development. Subcommander Vexal, the military attaché, advocated for immediate shows of force. A single demonstration of our weapons would eliminate this resistance. Kilthera disagreed. The High Council prefers peaceful integration when possible. Their primitive voting ritual costs us nothing but time. Grant them their 30 days. The outcome is inevitable. Throughout the following month, collective surveillance platforms monitored Earth carefully. They detected no significant military buildups or unusual resource movements. Humans continued their daily lives, seemingly resigned to their future role in the collective. On the designated day, Kilthera and her senior staff assembled on their command ship to receive Earth's response. The transmission request came through precisely on schedule. A sign of acceptance, Kilthera thought. Secretary General Okafor's face appeared on the main view screen, her expression unreadable. Ambassador, we have completed our global consultation regarding the collective's proposal. Kilthera inclined her head graciously. The collective welcomes Earth's wisdom in accepting our guidance. I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding, Okafor said. Earth has voted overwhelmingly to decline your terms. We remain open to negotiating a more equitable relationship, but we cannot accept assimilation. For the first time in her diplomatic career, Kilthera found herself speechless. This was not part of the established pattern. Her gaze shifted to Subcommander Vexal, whose hand moved subtly toward the weapons authorization panel. Across the stars, Dr. Neri monitored the exchange with growing alarm. Her analysis of human communication patterns during the 30-day period had revealed subtle anomalies. Data transfers at unusual hours, manufacturing outputs that matched no known surrender preparation protocols, energy usage spikes in remote locations. The precursor text she had decoded yesterday echoed in her mind. They speak of peace while preparing for war. When cornered, they become most dangerous. Their greatest weapon is not technology, but unpredictability. As she watched Subcommander Vexal's hand hover over the weapons panel, Dr. Neri realized the ancient warnings were about to be proven correct. Perhaps we should demonstrate our technological superiority, Sub-Commander Vexhall suggested, his claw hovering over the weapons console. A precision strike on an uninhabited area would clarify their position. Ambassador Kilthera raised her hand. The High Council prefers. The ship lurched suddenly. Emergency lights bathed the command deck in crimson. Multiple electromagnetic pulses detected. The sensor officer shouted, "Our defensive screens air." The view screens went dark. Kilthera steadied herself against a console. "Restore communications immediately." "Systems rebooting," the technology specialist reported. Estimated time to restoration, 47 seconds. When the screens reactivated, Kilthera stared in disbelief. 50 small Earth vessels surrounded each Mizeri ship in their fleet, maintaining positions that negated the collective's superior weapons. The vessels were unlike anything in Earth's known arsenals, sleeker, with energy signatures that shouldn't be possible for human technology. "They've been hiding their true capabilities," Vexhall hissed. Secretary General Okafor's face appeared on the central screen. "Ambassador, we hoped negotiations would proceed peacefully. Unfortunately, our intelligence intercepted Sub-Commander Vexhall's orders preparing punitive strikes against Earth population centers." "Impossible," Kilthera whispered. "Those communications had been encrypted using quantum protocols no human technology could break." A new face appeared beside Okafor, a woman with olive skin and hard eyes wearing a military uniform. "Colonel Maya Rodriguez, Earth Defense Forces. We've been studying how you fight since the moment you arrived. Ambassador, your technological advantages are impressive, but predictable." The ship shuddered again as boarding alarms screamed through the corridors. "Multiple hull breaches," the security officer reported. "Human strike teams have boarded decks 3 through 7. They're using shield frequencies that match our own." "How?" Vexhall demanded. "Chief Engineer Chen's repair team," Kilthera realized. "When they helped us after the solar flare." Rodriguez smiled thinly on the screen. "As I said, Ambassador, we've been studying you." Within minutes, human soldiers reached the command deck. Colonel Rodriguez stepped through the doors, flanked by soldiers in exoskeletal combat suits. "Your ship is secure," she informed Kilthera, while her team downloaded the Mizeri database. "No casualties on either side, which was our preference." Kilthera's membranes flushed with anger. "The collective will not tolerate this insult. Our main battle groups will reduce your civilization to ash." "Perhaps," Rodriguez acknowledged. "But first, they'll have to find us." She gestured to a tactical display showing Earth's forces scattering throughout the solar system. To Mars, the asteroid belt, Jupiter's moons, disappearing into hidden bases that had been prepared long before the Mizeri arrived. The High Council's response came swiftly. The second-tier battle groups of the collective emerged from dimensional space at the edge of the solar system, nearly 100 warships strong. Victory was a mathematical certainty. Except the humans refused to follow the mathematics. Instead of massing for a desperate last stand, Earth forces engaged in hit-and-run attacks that seemed random until patterns emerged. They targeted specific systems, captured particular technologies, then vanished before superior firepower could be brought to bear. "They're not trying to win," Commander Loxaran realized as another raid stripped his vessel of its quantum communication array. "They're learning." On the collective capital world, Dr. Neri watched the reports with growing dread. Her access to the military network was limited after her concerns about humans had branded her a potential dissident. Still, she managed to decrypt enough to see the disturbing trend. The precursor archives had warned of humanity's terrible gift, the ability to learn from every defeat and transform an enemy's strength into weakness. Now she understood what that truly meant. Humans weren't fighting to win this battle. They were fighting to win the war that would follow. The massive dreadnought Indomitable Certainty emerged from dimensional space at the edge of Earth's solar system, its hull bearing the distinctive crimson markings of the Drek warrior caste. On the command platform, Supreme Commander Drathor watched the tactical display with 4 golden eyes, each cybernetically enhanced for combat assessment. "Status report," he demanded, voice rumbling through gill-like vocal apertures. "Human resistance continues across 14 sectors," his first officer replied. "They've withdrawn from Mars orbit after we destroyed their primary base, but maintained guerrilla operations throughout the asteroid belt and Jovian moons." Drathor had studied the tactical logs from the previous 3 months of conflict. The human strategy defied conventional military doctrine. When pressed, they retreated. When pursued, they counterattacked at unexpected vectors. Most disturbing of all, their technology evolved with each engagement. "Deploy the 7th Extermination Fleet to secure Earth orbit," Drathor ordered. "The High Council wants this insurrection crushed before it inspires other client species to consider resistance." The battle for Earth's orbital space unfolded with brutal efficiency. The collective's overwhelming technological superiority pushed human forces back to the planet's surface. Victory seemed inevitable, exactly as the simulations had predicted. Then something unexpected happened on Mars. "Commander, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from the ruins of their destroyed base," the sensor officer reported. "Survivors?" Drathor asked. "Negative. A small team seems to have returned to the site. They're extracting something from the wreckage." Drathor frowned. "Dispatch interception squad." By the time collective forces arrived, the humans had vanished, taking with them a Mezari quantum communication node, intact. Within weeks, human communication systems began displaying primitive but functional quantum encryption, technology that had taken other species centuries to comprehend after joining the collective. Drathor secluded himself in his private chambers, reviewing Earth's military history from captured databases. What he discovered kept him awake through ship nights. Humans had spent their entire civilization fighting themselves. Unlike the unified evolution of collective species, humanity's development had been forged through constant adaptation to warfare. "Computer, display primary motivational factors in human conflicts," he commanded. The display filled with concepts alien to collective psychology. Ideology, religion, resources, freedom, revenge. Humans fought for abstractions. They died for ideas. And most disturbing of all, they innovated endlessly in response to adversity. On Earth, Dr. Chen Wei led her team deep beneath the Swiss Alps, into a laboratory complex that hadn't existed 6 months ago. Before them stood the prize they had captured from Mars, a fully functional Mezari quantum communication node. "Status," Colonel Rodriguez asked over the secure line. "We've reverse-engineered approximately 40% of its functionality," Chen replied. "Their technology is based on principles we theorized, but couldn't implement without their specialized materials. Now that we understand the underlying physics, we've developed our own approaches using Earth resources." Rodriguez's voice betrayed rare emotion. "How long until deployment?" "We've already begun manufacturing simplified versions, not as elegant as theirs, but more robust. Sometimes simplicity is an advantage." On the collective's capital world, Dr. Nari made her decision. After weeks of being confined to her quarters as a suspected dissident, she used the emergency medical override she programmed into her door lock. With a small data crystal containing the complete precursor archives, she made her way to the supply docks. Slipping aboard an automated transport bound for the front lines, she sent one final message to the scientific council. The precursors didn't fear humans because they were stronger. They feared them because they never stop learning. We face not just their current capability, but what they will become tomorrow. As the transport entered dimensional space, Drathor stared at the visual record of a captured human resistance fighter. Despite severe injuries, the prisoner had shown no fear during interrogation, only saying, "Every day you fight us, we get better at fighting you." For the first time in his decorated career, Supreme Commander Drathor wondered if the collective had finally encountered a species it could not subdue through superior force. The soft hiss of the airlock signaled decontamination complete. Colonel Rodriguez stepped forward as the inner doors parted to reveal a slender figure with iridescent skin and large, luminous eyes. "Dr. Nari, I presume," Rodriguez said, keeping her sidearm visible but lowered. The Mezzari scientist inclined her head. "You were expecting me. We intercepted your message to the Scientific Council." Bold move. Earth's underground command center hummed with activity around them. Technicians monitored global defense systems, while analysts processed intelligence from across the solar system. Despite the collective's overwhelming force, humanity had maintained a fragile resistance for 4 months. "I brought this," Dr. Neri said, extending a crystalline data storage device. The complete precursor archives, including sections the High Council classified. Rodriguez accepted it carefully. "Why help us?" "Because the collective has forgotten its purpose," Neri replied. "We began as an alliance of equals, seeking mutual protection. Over millennia, we became something else." Within hours, Dr. Nari and Dr. Chen were deep in consultation, comparing notes on quantum physics and precursor technology. What emerged from their collaboration shocked everyone. The precursor's true fear wasn't human aggression alone, Nari explained to the assembled Earth leadership. It was your unique capacity for connection. Holographic projections illustrated her point, the neural patterns of various species. The Mezzari brain showed rigid hierarchical structures. The Drek displayed strong martial conditioning. All collective species demonstrated similar patterns of thought constrained by evolutionary and cultural programming. The human brain patterns appeared chaotic by comparison, neurons forming connections across regions that remained separate in other species. "You form bonds based on shared struggle rather than shared biology," Nari continued. "The collective cannot comprehend fighting for another species. Humans do it instinctively." Rodriguez leaned forward. "How does this help us survive?" "Because you're not alone in your resistance," Nari said, activating another display showing star systems near Earth. These 3 worlds were recently incorporated into the collective. Their resistance movements have been watching Earth with growing hope. The implications struck Rodriguez immediately. "You're suggesting an alliance." "The collective maintains control through isolation," Neri confirmed. "Species are kept separate, interacting only through approved channels. They've never faced a multi-species resistance. Within days, Earth established quantum communication with resistance cells on 3 subjugated worlds. The human approach, offering technology without demanding subservience, created something unprecedented in collective history. Allies bound by mutual respect rather than forced hierarchy. Operation Avalanche launched with simultaneous uprisings across 12 collective worlds. Supply lines fractured. Communication networks suffered mysterious failures. The High Council, facing the first organized rebellion in their 1,000-year history, committed their full armada to crush Earth once and for all. Commander Drathor led the vanguard fleet toward Earth, his tactical genius focused on ending the human threat permanently. Then something unexpected occurred. A passenger transport carrying civilians from a collective mining colony strayed into the combat zone, its navigation systems compromised by sabotage. Drathor prepared to blast through it, acceptable collateral damage by collective standards. Instead, he watched in disbelief as a human interceptor squadron maneuvered to protect the transport, losing 3 ships in the process. Why would they sacrifice themselves for collective citizens? He demanded of his tactical officer. "Unknown, Commander. It contradicts all combat logic." That night, Drathor accessed restricted historical files about his own species' incorporation into the collective centuries ago. The official records described a peaceful alliance, but embedded fragments suggested something darker: resistance crushed, culture systematically erased, history rewritten. For the first time, Supreme Commander Drathor wondered if he had been fighting for the wrong side. On Earth, as final preparations for the coming battle proceeded, Dr. Chen approached Colonel Rodriguez with a breakthrough. "We've completed the prototype," she said. "Project Prometheus is ready for deployment." The collective armada darkened Earth's skies like an artificial eclipse. 500 warships, the full might of an empire spanning 1,000 star systems, converged on a single blue world. From his command platform on the flagship Inevitable Dominance, High Counselor Velthun observed the tactical display with cold satisfaction. "Begin the pacification protocol," he ordered. "Primary targets are their command centers and defensive installations. Secondary targets are major population centers. The humans must understand the cost of defiance. The first orbital strikes breach Earth's atmosphere like falling stars. Precision weapons designed to minimize planetary damage while maximizing psychological impact. Major cities around the globe reported devastating hits: Washington, Beijing, Moscow, New Delhi, their defense grids overwhelmed by superior technology. Deep beneath the Himalayan mountains, in a facility shielded from collective sensors, the last free leaders of humanity gathered around a holographic display of the unfolding attack. The casualties scrolled past in an endless digital requiem. Millions dead in the first wave alone. "We're out of time," Colonel Rodriguez said, her face illuminated by the grim statistics. "Dr. Chen, status on Prometheus." The quantum physicist gestured to a device at the center of the laboratory. A spherical object pulsing with blue-white energy, combining principles from the precursor archives with human innovation. "The device is operational," Chen replied, her expression grim. "It will disrupt the psychic network binding the collective species together. Without their enforced unity, their command structure should collapse." "The catch?" Secretary General Okafor asked. "It must be delivered to their central communication hub," Chen explained. "The network node that coordinates their entire fleet, and it must be activated manually." Rodriguez studied the tactical display. The hub is in their flagship, surrounded by their entire armada. "A suicide mission," Okafor said quietly. "I'll lead the delivery team," Chen volunteered without hesitation. "I understand the device better than anyone." As the volunteers prepared for what appeared to be a one-way mission, Dr. Neri provided the final intelligence. "The collective has never faced internal division during combat. Their psychic network enforces absolute unity of purpose. When Prometheus activates, the resulting psychological shock will be profound." On the collective flagship, Supreme Commander Drathor watched the bombardment of Earth with growing unease. The historical files he had accessed revealed disturbing parallels to his own species' subjugation centuries ago. The same patterns of resistance, the same disproportionate response, the same eventual rewriting of history to erase the violence. His communication panel chimed with an encrypted signal, a quantum frequency that should have been impossible for anyone outside the collective to access. "Commander Drathor." Colonel Rodriguez's face appeared on his private screen. "I believe you've been reviewing your species' true history." Drathor's secondary breathing membranes flared in surprise. "How could you know that?" "Because we understand what it means to discover your entire civilization has been built on lies," she replied. "The collective didn't unite the galaxy. They conquered it, one species at a time, erasing histories and suppressing identities. What do you want from me?" Drathor demanded. "Nothing. But I'm offering you a choice. In 10 minutes, we're launching an operation that will shatter the psychic network binding the collective. For the first time in centuries, your people will think for themselves. The question is, when that happens, which side of history do you want to be on?" The communication ended, leaving Drathor alone with his thoughts. Around him, the pacification of Earth continued with mechanical precision. Dr. Chen's small vessel slipped through the chaos of battle, using a combination of stealth technology and the confusion of combat to approach the collective flagship. The Prometheus device hummed with increasing energy as they neared their target. 2 minutes to intercept, the pilot reported. Heavy resistance ahead. Chen closed her eyes briefly, remembering her home in Hangzhou, the cherry trees in her parents' garden, the future that might have been in a world without war. Then she opened her eyes, resolve hardening her features. "Humanity endures," she whispered, the ancient defiance of her species burning in her voice. At that moment, Commander Drathor made his choice. The command deck of the Inevitable Dominance erupted into chaos as Drek battle cruisers opened fire on their own fleet. Supreme Commander Drathor's voice thundered through the collective communication network. "All Drek vessels, target the flagship's defensive grid. Clear a path for the human ship." High Counselor Vel Thun stared at the tactical display in disbelief. "This is impossible. The network ensures absolute loyalty. Your ancestors conquered my world before I was born," Drathor transmitted across all channels. "I choose to die free rather than live enslaved." The unexpected betrayal created a momentary rupture in the collective formation. Dr. Chen's team seized the opportunity, their small vessel slipping through the chaos toward the flagship's docking bay. "We have breakers in the network," the collective's psychic coordinator reported, panic edging into his normally controlled voice. "Drek neural patterns are destabilizing across all battle groups." Vel Thun activated emergency protocols. Increase psychic suppression. Override individual thought patterns. But the damage was spreading. Throughout the Armada, Drek warriors watched their commander's defiance and felt the first stirrings of long-suppressed identity. Other species began to experience similar fractures in the enforced consensus. Dr. Chen's team fought their way through the flagship corridors, facing increasingly desperate resistance as they approached the central communication hub. The Prometheus device pulsed with building energy in its containment field. 2 minutes to activation, Chen reported through her tactical comm to Earth Command. Colonel Rodriguez watched from the mountain bunker, monitoring the battle through captured collective feeds. All remaining forces focus fire on the flagship's upper quadrant. Draw their attention from Chen's team. The last free squadrons of Earth's defenders launched a desperate assault against overwhelming odds. Their sacrifice bought precious seconds as Chen reached the communication hub. 30 seconds to activation, she reported, connecting the Prometheus device to the collective's primary network node. The room filled with a blue-white glow as the countdown began. Across the Armada, the collective's psychic coordinators sensed the imminent threat. Unknown device detected in Central Hub. Energy signature indicates. The Prometheus device activated with a silent pulse that rippled through dimensional space. Throughout the collective fleet, the psychic network that had enforced unity for 1,000 years shattered. 7 species suddenly faced themselves, and each other, as individuals rather than components of a hive. The carefully maintained illusion of benevolent unification collapsed as centuries of suppressed identity resurfaced in a single transformative moment. The flagship's weapons went silent, then other ships, then entire battle groups. Without the psychic network to coordinate their actions and suppress dissent, the collective Armada fell into disarray. 5 years later, representatives from 32 species gathered in the newly constructed Harmony Station orbiting the neutral territory of Alpha Centauri. The chamber grew quiet as Secretary General Okafor stepped to the podium, flanked by Ambassador Drathor and Dr. Neri. "Today we sign the founding charter of the Interstellar Concordat," Okafor announced. "Not an empire, not a collective, but a genuine alliance of sovereign worlds united by mutual respect and self-determination." The document passed from hand to hand, tentacle to claw, appendage to pseudopod, each signature representing a free species choosing cooperation over subjugation. Dr. Chen, now heading the precursor translation project with Dr. Neri, had discovered the final chamber of the ancient archive. The text revealed the precursor's true message. The species from the Third World possesses a nature both creative and destructive, orderly and chaotic. If they master themselves, they will help others master their destiny. The path of forced unity leads to stagnation. The path of earned harmony leads to the stars. On the observation deck of the diplomatic vessel New Horizon, Ambassador Kilthera watched Earth receding in the viewport as her ship departed for negotiations with newly discovered worlds at the galaxy's edge. She reflected on the collective's fundamental misunderstanding of the ancient warnings. The precursors hadn't feared humans because they were violent or unpredictable, though they were both. They feared humans because when faced with overwhelming power, humans refused to accept the inevitable. When told something was impossible, they found a way. When defeated, they learned and returned stronger. The stars ahead seemed brighter somehow as Kilthera contemplated the galaxy's new future, one where diversity was strength and unity was chosen, not imposed. The ancient civilizations had indeed warned about humans, not as a threat to be conquered, but as a force for transformation that could only be partnered with, never controlled. And the collective had ignored it, to their own undoing.